quick because one of the things that I was really intrigued with is that there's this NBA star named John Morant who is really wasting a lot of money right now by just doing weird stuff that I think got him suspended from the NBA and all that. And I looked up John Morant's um, I looked up John Morant's, income and everything else, and I think he makes about $30 million a year on a $300 million contract. He probably had the opportunity to sign for another 100 million at least in shoe deals, things like that. Because he's so young, he could easily be in a position to end up earning, $1 billion as a basketball player just from basketball alone. And one of the things that's interesting about John Morant to me is that I don't think that I don't know if he has the understanding at 23 to understand how much wealth he's jeopardizing with that kind of behavior, with kind of getting into all this crazy stuff that he's getting into with this whole thug culture. And uh and one of the things that's really important to realize is that there are cultures that are wired around the preservation of resources, and then there are cultures that are wired around either giving away resources or being a resource for somebody else. And I think that when you talk about slave culture, we're trained to be slaves from birth. We've talked about this, the whole, go to school, get a job, go in student loan debt, and then you die broke, right? You die with a negative net worth. And that's the craziest thing in the world, that you could work super hard at something and have nothing to show for it. It's like it's like running 10 marathons and then somebody saying, treating me the same as somebody who didn't run an inch. Or Julian Gordon yesterday, who's the dean of real estate in the Black Business School, he came in and he said it's amazing that for half of the black community, there are newborn babies that are born that have a higher net worth than people that are 50, 60 years old. So think about that there are newborn babies that have a higher net worth than a lot of the people that you know. And that's insane to me. I think that's something we really want to reflect on. And so anyway, part of what made me think about Ja and think about the stuff that's in the book as well is I saw a Chinese man who did a video where the title of the video was The Ancient Chinese Secret to Saving Money. And it goes back thousands of years. So you have cultures that go back thousands of years where they have basic rules that they use to acquire resources, to preserve the resources, to grow the resources. And you can see that if you go to China, they embed economics in their power struggle with the world. Like in terms of their desire to sort of control the world, economics is the centerpiece of that. And they use their money, they use their money the same way we use our weapons. We use our money and our weapons. They use their money because they're not as quick to go and launch a bomb at somebody if they get mad at them. Whereas, so ultimately, what I would say to you is, I want you to really pay attention. Like when you look at the whole thing with John Morant and things like that, I think it's important to understand culture and then even have those hard conversations about what hip hop culture does in terms of the money mindset that's being transferred through hip hop culture. In fact, I think about another athlete who really lost at least 10, $20 million herself, which was Sha'Carri Richardson. Sha'Carri Richardson is somebody I've been cheering for because I'm a big track and field fan. I've been following Sha'Carri since she was a freshman at LSU, and she is. I'm happy for her right now because she's actually reemerging as the fastest woman in the world. She just beat Sharika Jackson from Jamaica, which was a big deal. And all the women, all the U.S. women that were on the 4x1 relay team that they passed Sha'Carri to put on the relay team, the ones who barely beat the Jamaican women, she blew all those women away. She blew every single one of them like into the ground. So Sha'Carri is emerging as this great athlete, and I'm super happy for her. And at some point, I think she's going to get around to making money. But one of the challenges that Sha'Carri Richardson has from a wealth standpoint is that because of her track record, because of her kind of presenting herself as this sort of out of control loose cannon, a lot of corporations aren't going to want to deal with her, right? A lot of companies are going to say, you know what? We don't do business with people that are not predictable. We don't know, what you're going to do next. We don't know if your ego is bigger than the business deal. And again, this is not an indictment of say hip hop. I've always been a hip hop fan. I know a lot of rappers and all that stuff, but when you go even into the thing that happened with Adidas and Kanye West, again, I was close to that situation. I saw Kanye's finances in detail, and I just said, I don't understand for the life of me what makes you think that your ego is so big that you are okay with throwing away this insane amount of money because you feel like it's okay for you to just say and do anything and act any old kind of way. I said, I don't know if I would do business with you if I don't know if you're going to be a good business partner or not. And that's something that we don't talk enough about because we have, again, the culture, especially hip hop culture, it encourages a lot of narcissism. It encourages a lot of, look at me, I'm the baddest, I'm the greatest, I'm better than you, right? And the problem with that kind of behavior is that that does not lend itself well to partnerships. It does not lend itself well to scenarios where everybody needs to get respect. And I'll point to an example of where I think it's we're actually working is I look at right now Shaquille O'Neal and Kenya Barris and 50 Cent are trying to buy BET. And here you have three proud men who have all accomplished a lot of things, who are doing this thing together. And when you do that kind of partnership, you have to make sure you're not stepping on people's egos. You're not disrespecting the partner that you have. You're not assuming that it's always all about you all the time. And I still remember at one point I remember Kanye saying to me that he said, "I'm the most important person on earth next to Vladimir Putin." And I remember saying, "I don't really care about that. I don't. Why are you telling me? There's nobody listening. Like that's for stupid people. That's not for me. I don't. I see through all of that. And I remember thinking like, okay, now I understand why you're not an easy person to do business with because sometimes what we think is is good confidence, healthy confidence is actually overconfidence. And so when I look at Shakari, I see where her overconfidence has probably cost her at least 10, 20, $30 million. She didn't just lose the business deal she had. She's losing all the business deals that she might actually get. She's also going to be in the unfortunate position of being a person who becomes the fastest woman in the world, who I wouldn't be surprised if she ends up frustrated because corporate sponsors don't want to necessarily endorse her. Even black people that are doing business, when companies put money on the line, they know that there's a big risk. When Adidas worked with Kanye West, they were sending him insane amounts of money, but it's like, remember, you notice what happened when he decided to blow up the deal. Well, Adidas ended up losing probably at least a couple $1 billion. I mean, if you look at the long-term wealth loss or the massive drop in their stock price, they lost several $1 billion when that deal went south. So when people are thinking about who they want to do business with, and I know some other people that are at that level who think in that sort of mindset, like Larry Miller, who is the CEO of the Air Jordan brand. So his shoes, the Jordan brands, it was his it was his he was the mastermind for why all your kids want to buy Jordans. Like literally, he's the reason. Larry was a good guy. He's a friend of mine. He came to the All Black National Convention last year. He is the reason why all your kids and all your kids' friends want to wear Jordans. Larry, if you watch how Larry operates, Larry does not do business with everybody. Larry does not care how famous you are. Larry, one of the biggest things I noticed that Larry pays attention to is what kind of person you are. If you're the kind of person who is gonna blow up his spot and embarrass him and harm the what he's got going on or harm that business relationship, he's not gonna work with you. So a lot of the athletes that understand money mindset and wealth culture, they'll approach the Air Jordan brand for sponsorship. And the ones that get selected tend to not just be good at what they do, but they carry themselves with a level of professionalism that understands the importance of not blowing the bag, right? Blowing the bag by sort of, just doing anything or thinking that you're above reproach and that nobody can touch you because you got a little bit of money in your pocket. Nobody wants to do business with people like that. So remember that. So if I were to say John Morant, one of the things I would do immediately if I want to protect my wealth is start really getting some good advice from older people that I trust and letting them control some of my money. Some of the athletes that have kept their money the most are people who gave it all. Like one guy for the Celtics, he gives all his money to his mother, and his mother controls all his investments and finances. Shaquille O'Neal gave his money to his mom. His mom gave him a bunch of money to play with. She said, "Look, go out and buy you Lamborghinis and sports cars. There's nothing wrong with nice stuff, right? Nothing wrong with that." but she made sure that she kept the bulk of his wealth so that he could build it into whatever he has right now, because this is serious business, right? And so anyway, that's my 2 cents on that. I really think that if I were you, what I would do is don't make it overcomplicated. When you're talking about investing in wealth preservation, culture is more important than knowledge. Culture is more important than what degrees you have. Culture is more important than what books you've read. You know, there are mindsets that are built on preservation, that are built on financial conservatism. People that tend to have more money, they tend to be more conservative because they look before they leap. They don't just go out and just jump out and do that, but they take calculated risks, right? So you have to have some level of risk, of risk tolerance in order to become wealthy too, right? You got to take chances. You can't just be afraid, but at the same time, if it's not a calculated risk, it's going to end up costing you almost everything. So effectively, I would pay attention to culture and mindset. Just know there are families out here that have insane amounts of money where nobody in the family even goes to college. Nobody in the family ever takes a financial class. Nobody ever. You have to learn those things because these things were not taught to you in your household. So the goal of the Ten Commandments of Black Economic Power is to say, what's just kind of a basic model that we can train our kids on, basic ideas, okay, ownership is the key to power, always be an asset to your family, little things like that that will not just put them on a wealth building trajectory, but will also allow them to fold their resources back into the family so that the family becomes stronger long term. So that's my 2 cents on that. And so by the way, if you want to join us in Dallas, May 19th, we'll be there in a couple of days. Just feel free to fly down. You go to boycewatkins.com. There's information there. Also, we're going to do a lot of wealth training exercises at the All Black National Convention as well. So all that's on my website, boycewatkins.com, if you'd like to join us. Okay, so a couple more questions. Let's see. Thoughts about TLT option calls for 109. I don't know what TLT is. Um,